I am the nature hacker, and this is your world. So, today I want to talk about, I guess it's kind of a male health issue, but don't worry, it's G rated, so, it's not a problem or anything. And it might also apply to women too. I don't know exactly. I would assume that it would. I don't know in what exact ways. But really, what I'm going to talk about is supercharging your life, especially for males. And I'm going to talk about, I bring you guys findings, whatever the findings are, things I discover about health, I'm going to bring it to you. So that that's what I'm doing here. So, I used to have kind of low testosterone. I think normal is like around 400 to 600. I can't remember what the units were, but I was testing like around 300, so I was a little low in testosterone. And then I started taking saponins, like Tribulus terrestris and things like, actually, really just Tribulus terrestris back then. So, because I knew what I was doing, and I was killing off gram-positive bacteria, okay? And what happens is these gram-positive bacteria in the gut, they release cytokines, which decrease luteinizing hormone, which decreases testosterone. So, I don't know exactly what luteinizing hormone does for women. It might do estrogen. So, if you take Tribulus terrestris, it might increase your estrogen. I don't know. It might increase testosterone a little, but, testosterone is actually good and healthy for females. It actually gives them more energy and makes them feel more positive and less susceptible to depression, stuff like that. So, I killed that bacteria off, and then that sap on my luteinizing hormone was removed. Okay, so the next time I went in to get my testosterone checked, you won't believe what it was. I started at 300. Okay, the maximum limit of detection is 1500. So if I went from 300 to 1500, that would be, what is that? That would be a 500% increase, which is insane. They couldn't measure my testosterone. It was literally off the charts. Okay, it was above 1500, and all I did was kill off these bacteria that were sapping my testosterone. So that's all well and good, and that actually helped me. That actually helped fill in my beard, because my beard was a little wasn't full before that, and I was in my 20s. I was probably 24, 25-ish. So that was when I started doing that. Maybe 26. No, probably like 25. But so yeah, my testosterone went off the charts, and that's all well and good. And it is really good. Having high testosterone is really good. It's not necessarily related to aggression and stuff. It's more related to, like, I would say, feelings of like caring, not only caring about other people, but also caring about your reputation, like wanting to be reputable, wanting to be reliable, and wanting your word to mean something. It's testosterone has to do with like social, I don't want to say prowess, more like social stature. It's like a very well respected man probably has high testosterone, because his high testosterone makes him do things that make him respectable. Um, yeah, and obviously, look, I'm not wearing a shirt right now. I'm not really being that respectable in that regard, but I say that's more of a superficial thing. But in general, I think you would agree that I try to be pretty respectable when I come across and stuff. So that's really what testosterone does. It has to do with your, how much like you draw people, your community, your group of friends, things like that, how much you can be easy to get along with, things like that. That has to do with high testosterone. So having high testosterone is excellent, but that wasn't the end of the story. Now, I guess this right here could get in a little bit of TMI and stuff, but most people, guys or girls, have kind of a a large sex drive. I mean, kind of in the same regard as like a large appetite. Everybody eats too much food, right? And you can kind of relate that to, it's kind of like marijuana. You know, marijuana gives you munchies and also makes you want to, engage in sexual activity. But so what's happening is these bacteria are doing both of those. They actually activate cannabinoid receptors, the same things that marijuana activates. So clearing out those bacteria help with not only increasing your testosterone, but also minimizing excess sex drive, basically. But still, it was a little too high in me. And when it's too high, like let's say you are engaging in sexual activity every few days or whatever. The thing is that in a man, his testosterone won't really change that much from sexual activity. It does peak after sexual activity and whatnot, but it doesn't really change the testosterone that much. So most people, most scientists or health professionals who are savvy on this type of thing would be like, oh, it doesn't affect anything. If you want to raise your testosterone, abstinence, for example, isn't going to change anything, which is right in one regard. It's not going to change your testosterone average really, but there's two things that abstinence actually does, and so I'll get to more on this later. But one of the things it does is it makes your testosterone peak when women are at their fertile time or whatever. So I mean, it's important. Like let's say you're wanting to have kids or something. It's important. I think it's important for the male to abstain until the female is ready, whatever, so they have a higher chance of getting pregnant and stuff. But so the thing is, another thing with abstinence, and then I'll tell you the secret that I found, which actually made it possible for me to be abstinent, while single or whatever. But that secret is, well, I'll get to that in a second. But the other thing that comes from abstinence, the secret factor that people don't realize, and that is, sure, it doesn't really affect your average testosterone, doesn't really raise your average testosterone, but aside from giving you the peaks where the female peaks are, which helps in a lot of ways, but also what it does is it reduces, it increases, I think. It changes the androgen receptors, okay? The testosterone receptors. It changes them so they are more, I think it increases them. Increases your testosterone receptors. Now, there's a lot of places in the body that these receptors are. One of them is in the fat cells, okay? One of them is in the fat cells. Now, I think that is the secret. Another one is there's so many. The most androgen receptors in the body is not in the male reproductive tract or anywhere like that. It's in the liver. The liver has more testosterone receptors than anywhere else, probably more than the biggest ones combined. Okay, so the liver. Now, I haven't gotten my cholesterol checked, and I probably should, but when I was younger, it was a little high. It was like 200, low 200s. But what I think, and I had low testosterone back then, so what I think is that those liver testosterone receptors have to do with creating fatty acids like cholesterol, maybe increasing HDL, maybe decreasing LDL, maybe lowering triglycerides, all of these types of things. And when you're abstaining, when you're practicing abstinence, and you can even do it in a relationship, you just only, have sexual activity in that one time of the month area, maybe that 1 week or whatever, and then the rest of the time you're abstaining, and that will help boost your receptors. Because what happens is when you're flooding the testosterone with sexual activity too often, it downregulates these receptors. Your body's, all your organs are like, oh, I'm getting too much testosterone, spikes, it spikes it, but then it comes back down. But your body sees the spike and is like, oh, that's too much. I'm going to reduce the amount of receptors. Your liver reduces receptors. It's not as good at handling fats. your fat cells reduce receptors. It's not as sensitive to insulin anymore. These androgen receptors help with insulin sensitivity. So type 2 diabetes could actually be from too much sexual activity. Who could have thought? Type 2 diabetes. Thyroid issues, lots of stuff like this is pituitary, things like man boobs, things like that, is because of high prolactin, and that is made in the pituitary. So if you have testosterone hitting the pituitary and you have enough androgen receptors there, it's going to reduce the amount of prolactin for males and decrease tendency for man boobs, things like that. So there's a lot of things that not only high testosterone helps with, but high androgen receptors. And to increase your androgen receptors, abstinence is the key. Now, I had tried putting off sexual activity a lot, especially growing up. I grew up Mormon, and, it was taught that it was wrong to, do, things like that on your own and stuff. You have to wait till you're married, blah, blah, blah. But, so I tried practicing abstinence a lot. I always failed. I couldn't make it more than a few days, But, and I ended up just kind of being like, whatever, I'll just go along with it, I just thought it was a natural thing, and just kind of release and whatnot. But, it turns out that there was a secret factor, and that secret factor is actually Proteus in the kidneys. Hidden kidney infection. And the only sign you'll likely notice from this hidden Proteus kidney infection is low back pain. So you might just be like, oh, I must be dehydrated, my lower back hurts, or it must have been from exercising or whatever. But if you're having not really not muscle pain, but if you're getting low back pain, if it hurts when you lay down, if you go in bed at night and just lay flat and your lower back hurts, then you have a kidney infection. I'm just being honest. You have a kidney infection, all right? That kidney infection is Proteus, okay? That bacteria is very, very sly and tricky. Now, the thing is, I just started killing this bacteria a few weeks ago. And I had always kind of thought that my excess sexual drive was from some sort of infection, but I never really could figure it out. But I started taking essential oils internally, like eucalyptus, clove, things like that. And my lower back pain went away, for one. And secondly, my sex drive was then tuned. It wasn't that it went away, it's that it was balanced. For the first time in my life, my sex drive was balanced to where I could choose what I wanted to do. I didn't have to engage in sexual activity every few days or whatever. I could just be abstinent. I could just be, without doing that stuff. So that, I think, it was and is a total game changer, because I'd never been able to really do that consistently before. And so I just want to report to you what happened. And basically, my energy level just went way up. Like you might have noticed, my videos doing more videos, doing more articles on my site, kind of getting active more, things like that. So it really helped me, because I have been pretty low on energy lately. I think part of it is because, I've been trying to eat in, a very healthy way, no sugar, not much meat, things like that. So, and I have insomnia, and I have trouble sleeping through the night. So that also kind of saps my energy. So, there are certain days when I had a lot of energy, but most of the time I just didn't really have much energy. But since being abstinent for a few weeks, I've really gotten more energy, more drive to do things. So, I mean, that is happening because not only do I have a good level of testosterone already, but I'm boosting up the amount of testosterone receptors to be able to burn fat easier, to be able to perhaps have a healthier lipid profile, um, to have more, just the effects of testosterone on the brain will have a greater effect, to be able to want to work out more, things like this. So it's really helped a lot, and it's really supercharged my life in a lot of ways. So, you know, you trust me to come to you with health breakthroughs, and this is one. So, I mean, yeah, this might be a topic that's not really that, you know, easy to hear or whatever, but I just really think it's important. So the keys here are: one, killing those bacteria that rob you of testosterone or other sex hormones if you're a woman, and then practicing abstinence to replenish the testosterone receptors in all of the areas in your body. It's like if you're constantly on a sugar high, your body's going to be like, whoa, that's too much sugar. I'm going to decrease insulin receptors because we're getting way too much insulin. We're going to decrease insulin receptors, which makes us insulin resistant, so that now we have high blood sugar, right? Well, it's the same with testosterone. If you're getting these spikes every day, these spikes from sexual activity, then it's going to decrease your androgen receptors, which is really going to sap your energy. Really, more than anything, it's going to sap your energy and your health, your vitality. So what we need to have is a nice, even keel of testosterone. And what really happens is you naturally get that spike. When you're abstinent, you naturally get that spike once a month that lines up with females, which is, good for conception and things like that, if you're married. So that's what we should be doing. And it really, I promise you, try it out. It really will supercharge your life. It's impossible to do with Proteus kidney infection, so get a hold of some essential oils, especially eucalyptus and clove, and take about 20 drops of eucalyptus and or clove. So, I mean, the maximum of drops of essential oils per day you should have is 20 drops. So 10 eucalyptus, 10 clove. Take that internally. That will help you. Now you don't have this infection that's driving you into sexual activity. Now you can be balanced and centered, and you can choose what you want to do. And if you choose to be abstinent, that will really help supercharge your life. So thanks for watching. Remember, this is your world. Go do work.